Welcome to Mo's Market Pulse. I'm your host, Sarah Mokaram, founder of Mo Digital Solutions, where we help businesses hit their revenue goals and thrive. On this podcast, we talk with industry leaders to gain real insights. And today we're joined by a seasoned technology leader who spent decades navigating software evolution and now helps growing companies make smarter, long term technical decisions in an AI accelerated world. Ricardo Alves, founder and CEO of Solid Apps. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for asking me to join this
Of
podcast.
course. So, Ricardo, to set the stage for our listeners, I'd love to just start with a clear picture of what Solid Apps actually does. When someone asks you what your company is responsible for inside a client organization, how do you describe it?
Yeah, we usually work with clients that are running apps already in production and that are like struggling to scale. And we work in two fronts basically. One is execution. So we develop software using AI and leverage by these new tools, AI and no coding and everything else that exists nowadays. And also in the other front is with engineering authority, like avoiding the usual pitfalls and looking for the risks and ensuring that although they are and leveraging the AI power and the new faster pace of development, they will not fail in the future and will not pay the price of like missing relevant aspects of development in the future when the company is bigger.
Great. And so there's also kind of a unique arc here because Solid Apps as a brand is relatively new, but your career definitely isn't. So zooming out for a moment, how did, 30 years in technology lead you to build this specific type of firm?
Yeah, I start like in 19s and already as a developer and already developed in any like a lot of different languages and technologies. I begin with HTML 4.0, like developing in Notepad with almost anything that we have today, almost anything exists that time. I built my career in IT, like developing and then leading developers and then becoming engineering manager. And like 1 year and a half ago, I decided to start Solid Apps. And we found Solid Apps with this goal. Like we 1 year and a half ago, we have AI like starting, but most of fast-paced development was being done in no-code technologies, and Bubble was the biggest platform people use. So we figured out that a lot of companies start build their products based on these new technologies, and that new technologies allow people that has no background or like a low background in technology to build fantastic tools. But those tools usually have a limit in scalability. So the company starts with the founder doing the first prototype or mock-up, and then the founder finds a guy that has more skills in no code or AI today. And that guy can build the product to a next level. And then the company starts getting customers and revenue and starts to operate. And in that moment, some problems starts to pop up. So as I have a big expertise in IT and a very good background in technology, I can jump in and rescue those companies from failure and also ensure that they have a paved road to scaling. So that's why we started Solid Apps to fill this gap.
So funny that you mentioned HTML because I remember taking a college course years ago now about HTML coding and working
Yeah,
on the website and
yeah,
seems so
yeah.
long ago.
I teach about like 200 to 300 people in my college in classes like classes of HTML dot
Yeah,
4.0 back
that's
in
great.
97 maybe.
Yep. And now you have platforms like Lovable or other ones where you're talking to it and it's all that
Yeah.
does that for you. Um, So, given how quickly Solid Apps has grown, I saw that it was one of the top, I believe, bubble agencies globally in such a short time. How has the company itself evolved over this first year? And I'm sure from the beginning to now, it's changed significantly.
Yeah, I started working with Bubble in 2007, 19, just before the pandemics, and I am one of the 31st certified Bubble developers. So I already had a career and customers in Bubble, and then we started Solid Apps. So when we found Solid Apps, we started as like a no badge companies. So we are bubble agency with no recognition and nothing. And 2 months after we earned our bronze badge from Bubble. Like Bubble has three levels of partnership: bronze, silver, and gold. And then as we have customers working with medium to large complex apps, the revenue that those companies provide to Bubble is like large, bigger than a single MVP or some kind of this. And then we move it to Silver Partner, and we keep working, provide services to other big companies. Like we already served companies that made more than $2 billion in revenue when we consider all our customers. And then by July last year, we became gold partner. By that time, Bubble evaluates the agencies by the number of MVPs that they built. And we were like the last one in the list of gold agencies because we have just 16 MVPs built, and the first one has like 800 or more. And we see that it will be impossible to be like in in the top 10 or list because we were not focused on building MVPs from the scratch. We are focusing on helping companies that are already making money to keep growing. And we start talking to Bubble, and Bubble also realized that their customers evolve and they have a lot of companies already making money, and they figured out that the best way to measure the agencies is not based on how many small products you do, but essentially how do you contribute to successful business. And they changed the way they rank the agencies, so we became the 10th biggest or the 10th agency in the Bubble rank because like we are contributing for business that succeed, not just for like starting companies that may not succeed.
That makes And so that leads me kind of to my next shift here in topics of growth. So firms like yours tend to grow based on trust and reputation, right, of the work that you've done. And that creates a very specific kind of momentum. But today, where do you get most of your clients from? Is it from just word of mouth referrals, or do you have other ways of obtaining clients?
Basically, word of mouth. Most of our customers came from people referring us and saying, "Hey, I know a company, a guy, a team of people that solved my issue and then can help you as well." We have like email campaigns and like LinkedIn posts and that kind of stuff. And also, Bubble referred us like two or three hot leads per day. So we also have a flow of leads coming from Bubble. But most of our customers really came from word of mouth, and because I believe like when we talk about B2B and medium companies or companies that already has a system, already relies on a system, the decision about who will take care of your system is not something easy to do. It's not something that you can rely on like emails or like LinkedIn posts or a guess. You cannot guess with this. Is the system that runs the company and responsible for your life, basically, like your life and the life of your family. So when we have a referral, this is very strong because it comes from other people that already confidence on us and already saw the results. So this is like it's more than 50% of conversion rates. Like it's basically every time, almost every time.
Yeah, I could see, that relationship piece and that trust versus someone just random that you see is very important here. So, one thing though, what's interesting about kind of that word of mouth driven growth or referrals is that it can definitely be super powerful. Like you said, the conversion is very high. But it also can be unpredictable, I would imagine. So, how does that variability show up operationally when it comes to planning or hiring or forecasting for the year ahead?
Yeah, that's our main challenge because like we have it's unpredictable and it varies. Sometimes we have like a lot of customers and sometimes we have no one in the pipeline and that's one challenge. One point of our market or business model that mitigates the impact of these is we work with long-term agreements and we play the long game. So it's not a like an agency that builds MVP and delivers what the project each 2 months and needs another project to survive. We usually run like annual contracts with companies that become solid, even like each time more solid. So we have a long term contracts. But this is a challenge for sure. And every time that a customer says, "Hey, we'll like terminate the contract or we'll migrate to other," usually many times what happens is we enter with a bigger team, like a big team of developers to solve the technical debt and to speed up the process or like development. And then after we clean the house, these need is like they need less developers. So we reduce our workload into the company and keep the position more with the senior people reviewing architecture and doing the assessing the risk and the company can handle the system with their internal developers. So this transition is smooth. Sometimes we suffer, but happily or luckily we were able to manage these and to like hold on sometimes 1 month or two, a couple of developers in internal projects, and then we have another customer and can reposition those developers.
And I know from our previous conversation when you and I connected, you described Solid Apps as a firm that sometimes says, no, don't build that. Uh, I actually loved because of the honesty, and that's a true, I feel like a true partner, right? And an expert and advisor versus just saying yes, 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 especially bringing on new jobs. So that definitely is different posture than some other development companies. Does that clarity help attract the right clients, do you feel? Or does it sometimes make growth more challenging?
I believe that it help us to attract the correct customer because and maybe we have lower volume, like we don't have like 100 of customers or so. And if you look to Bubble, like the top three agencies, they have like 100 of customers every running in parallel. And we are more close to like 7 8 customers in parallel. So we have less customers, but our customers are bigger ones and like more complex systems and it's a different customers. And the reason I believe it help us is because if I'm talking to someone that didn't experience it, these issues, like never have a failure in a system that like make he lost 1 night of sleep or maybe 3 nights of sleep or like maybe a weekend and make him panic because of the possible consequence of the issue. Sometimes like a data leakage or like a fragility or a attack of someone or a regulation that they didn't comply and they can like be responsible or accountable for that kind of stuff. If I'm talking to someone that never suffered this, it's extremely hard to sell. Like they will not see value and they will think, I don't need this guy. I need someone that just develop a new feature to me and just make me grow. But after you pass it for these kind of issues like 2 or 3 times, it's totally the opposite. Like you will pay how many money, like anything to not pass through these again. So the conversation goes more in a technical aspect and like in the partnership than anything else. So it's more like how you can help me, like this is my issue, and like okay, we'll have you as a partner. We'll have our internal developers. We'll have some guys from your team inside as well, and every decision that we'll take will consult you, we will ask for you, and we will have you taking the responsibility for the risk mitigation.
Right, you become more of that trusted, valued partner
Yeah,
by
exactly.
providing that honest, transparent
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly.
So, one of the themes you raise that I find is fascinating is this tension created by AI. It's easier than ever to build quickly with all of these. Even I mentioned Livable earlier, how fast it is to build something, but that speed also introduces risk. So, in your view, where are companies underestimating the long term technical consequences right now?
The way I see the market is like if I'm launching something, go for lovable, have your prototype, like validate your market, launch your MVP as fast as you can. You have nothing to lose. If the system breaks, that's okay. Like if you have a data leakage with 3 users and these 3 users are like your brother, your mother, and a friend, that's fine. That's not an issue. But when the company starts to get traction, then you need to look for this place. Here we have two scenarios. Like if you are invested, you may have advisors or like investors that not all of them are, but a couple of them are like looking for these and thinking on the risk and how their money can be impacted for bad technical decisions. So you may be covered. If you are bootstrapped and like you have no expertise in IT, you are probably running more risk that you can imagine. That's like, unfortunately, many entrepreneurs are in that position. They have no idea of how risky their operation are. I hope that they never have issues like that. That's like a true feeling. But we are here to help you. Like that's what we look for these and try to ensure that they will never suffer with the risk they are introducing. And regarding this aspect you mentioned, I read something in LinkedIn these days that I totally agree. There are a lot of people bringing these concerns to light in LinkedIn, and one French guy just said like AI is building a lot of based on open source libraries, and as AI is replacing developers, developers are like start to struggle to like earn the same money, and we have less people maintaining these open source libraries. So new systems are being built over these, and there is no one maintaining. And then we may have an issue in the future when we have a missing a package, like missing a patch that solve a security vulnerability in a specific like open source library is the roots of your system. So that kind of stuff, there is not a lot of people look into.
So you touched on this a little bit, but there's a subtle trade off, right, between speed and sustainability. And so in conversations with founders and executives, how do you help them think about that balance without slowing down their ambition or their goals?
That's the sometimes it's the hardest part because like some founders are very. I believe that any founder is ahead of your time, like it's time. They think in the future. It's a common ground in when we talk about founders, and a lot of them want the next feature and the next feature and the next feature. But as I said, like with maturity, they start to consider the risks, and our job is not like we didn't bypass the founder, but we show them how risky it is and what could be the consequences and what they will need to do. Sometimes they take the decision to move forward and to keep the pace and to buy the risk. So they have this freedom or like authority, but at least they are now conscious about the risk. So even if the decision is not to slow down and to like to not take the risk, you are conscious about it. So you're not going to with the eyes closed or without knowing what may be the consequence.
Okay, so you're how you do it is you make sure you educate them on what the risks are, and then that way they're making that decision with that education of knowing what the trade-offs might be, and then they sometimes still move forwards, but at least they know it with that understanding.
Yeah, exactly. But like I would say that 10 to 15% of times they decide to move forward because usually they are thinking without considering the real scenario. But sometimes and like business are different and have particularities, and sometimes you need to buy the risk. That's why they are entrepreneurs. Like they are essentially buying risk for money. So buying risk is part of the business, but you need to take that decision with information. It should be an informed decision.
So now looking ahead over the next 6, 12 months, can you share with us what are some of the big priorities for Solid Apps, whether it's something coming up in your business, as well as where your focus is when it comes to growth?
Our focus is mostly in, I would say, making that transition because we started as a development company focused on in like middle to high complex systems. It was easy to sell, easy to like say, hey, we do this, we do better than the others, and we can like hold the accountability for your system. Right now, the AI is evolving in a very fast pace, and we believe that AI will like really replace development or most of development work in a few years. So the way we see the future is we start educating the markets and showing people that okay, AI will code for you, but comparing with a construction, like with a building construction, AI is the guy that makes the draw, not the architect, not the civil, the engineer. So AI will develop the code for you, but you need to know which code and with what safeguards and what is the constraints that you need to tell and enforce AI. And also another aspect of AI is if you didn't have a process to develop using AI starts to screw up what was working. So you built one thing, and then some guy go there and ask a change, and then AI change another thing. And so there is a lot of challenges in terms of AI. And for the next 6 to 12 or 18 months, our goal is fill this gap and be there to people that are facing those challenges of how to manage like bubble, no code, AI, new technologies and legacy technologies and how to keep a faster pace, leveraging of all those technologies without increasing the risk.
Yeah, that's such a great comparison or analogy you gave with building a building because AI is a tool, right? And you need to know how to use that tool. Whereas I do feel that sometimes it can be viewed as just the know it all and it'll do it for me. But if it's not really prompted the correct way, then it can be actually more harmful than helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And also assumptions. Many AIs, when you go to like GPT or Gemini, they made assumptions. And when we are talking about a set of requirements or like in regulated markets or if you were like needs to comply with the requirements for other company or a customer or any stakeholder, and you use AI to clarify these requirements or like to help you building these AI, make assumptions that most of time are not true. They just make up things, and then you have two scenarios. Those two scenarios are very common. One is you end up building something that's way more complex than you need because AI made up like requirements and constraints and things that were not part of the initial requirements or initial needs. And the other possibility is you build something that doesn't comply entirely if you are in a regulated market, for instance. And when you rely on AI to comply with requirements in a regulated market and build software with it, I would say it's almost true that you will fail in both ways. You will have something that is more complex than you need and even doesn't comply with the full set of requirements.
Yeah, definitely. Ricardo, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you joining us today. And I want you to be able to share if anyone wants to keep up with you or learn more about your company, where's the best place to connect or follow along?
We have three channels like my LinkedIn, it's Ricardo Alves HQ, Solid Apps LinkedIn, Solid Apps dot dash tech, and our website, solidapps.tech.
Well, I will make sure to link all of those along with this episode. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into Mo's Market Pulse. And thank you again, Ricardo, for joining us today.
Thank you, Sarah. It was a pleasure.